Okay, so for today we're actually going to be doing trig, but we're doing with angles, elevation, and depression. Now, these are actually quite self-explanatory. So the word depression means what? Down, right? To be down, right? So it's an angle going which way? Down. Okay, an angle of elevation. The word elevate means to up, right? So to go up. So angle of elevation would be your angle going up. So it's actually going to be bottom up, where depression is top down. So this right here is a horizontal line. There's always going to be some type of arbitrary horizontal line. So this line and this line right here are always going to be parallel. You guys understand that? You guys follow along here. This and this will be parallel. So if these two are parallel, my angle of depression and my angle of elevation are going to be congruent all the time, because these are alternate interior angles. These angles will be congruent to each other. Angle of elevation is bottom up, so I'm going to draw an arrow this way. And angle of depression is top down. Okay, we're gonna be doing some identifying here shortly about the different types of angles. So you have to understand, depression is top down, elevation is bottom up, and this thing right here, the line going from here to here, is usually referred to as your line of sight. Because wherever we're doing this, we're actually looking at it from here to here. This point to this point would be line of sight. So let's go along with what they have here. So Karen is watching a hot air balloon at 38 degrees angle above the horizontal line. So here's Karen down here, right? Okay, so she is looking, that angle is an angle of elevation because she's on the bottom looking up. At the same time, Alex, who's riding in the gondola or hot air balloon, okay, of the balloon, sees Karen on the ground at 38 degrees. Angle below a horizontal line. So right here, so he's looking down at her, right? So there's your angle of depression because he's looking down to her. Okay, angle below the horizontal line, angle of depression. What do you notice about the two angles? What do you know about the two angles? They are congruent. Very good. They are congruent. Now, I've already started by explaining this. Why are these two angles right here congruent? I already said it once. Alternate interior angles, right? Because the horizontal lines will always be parallel. This is actually going to be a test question later on. So, horizontal lines right here will be parallel. These are going to be alternate interior angles. So I have alternate interior angles there. So let's take a look. Name the angles. Angle 1 is an angle of depression from the airplane to the man. Okay? So that's going to be top down, right? Yes? Angle 2 is an angle of what? What is it? Elevation. It is elevation because it's going from his line of sight right here, his horizontal line, and he's looking up. So therefore that is an angle of elevation. From the man to the what? Airplane, right? Yes? Okay. 3 is an angle of depression. Very good. From the blank man to the boat. Okay. Angle 4 is an angle of elevation. From the boat to the man. Easy enough, right? So that's just helping me identify where I'm starting at and how I'm going to draw right triangles. So I'm going to show you guys don't actually have to mark this on yours, but I want to show you. When we're doing this, every time I'm doing this, I'm trying to make a right triangle. So this, I am identifying as my right triangle. So I could use my Pythagorean theorem or my trigonometry, my sine, cosine, tangent, to find missing values of this. Every time I'm actually trying to draw a right triangle with the given information. So I could also do the same thing on top. Let me grab a different color. So if I'm drawing a different one on top, so like right here where angle 1 is at, so I could actually do the same thing again, but it's off over here in space, but it still makes a right triangle. So I will have some of these other values, and all you have to do is try to make a right triangle with the given information to be able to solve what I need. Okay? So let's take a look at down here at the bottom. Example 1. The captain of the ship sights an airplane at an angle of elevation 32 degrees. What is the altitude of the plane? Altitude, they even drew it in right here. So let's take a look. So given my angle of elevation, I'm going to do my work down here on the bottom because there's really not much work here. So on the under page, you guys are going to look, let's label it example 1. So from this information, here is my angle of elevation, right? Yes? Yes. Okay. So that is my reference angle, right? So if that is my reference angle right there, that makes this side over here my opposite. Come on, class. I know you guys are awake today. And this side over here is my hypotenuse. This side down here is adjacent. What am I working with here? Opposite and adjacent. That ratio is 10. Very good. So I'm going to be working with tangent. So it's tangent of my reference angle, which is 32 degrees, is equal to opposite over adjacent, right? Because tangent's opposite over adjacent. That's going to be x over 50, right? X over 50. Yes? Did I lose anyone? Is everyone lost? Is there someone over there that doesn't have a writing utensil and is zoning out? Yes. Would you come over here and pick up this pencil? Thank you. All right, so what am I going to do to both sides of my equation here? Excellent. Multiply both sides by 50. So that's going to cancel out here. So I'm going to get 50 times tangent of 32 is equal to x. Now, is my variable by itself? Yeah. Yes. Once the variable is by itself, what do I do? Put it in the calculator. Let's do that. So you guys got to check your degrees in your calculator. So let's see right here. So make sure it's in degree every single time. So I'm going to plug in my calculator. So 50 times tangent 32 degrees. Hit enter. And I'm going to round this to a tenth right here. So it's going to be 31.2. Very good. So x about 31.2. What are my units here? Yards. Very good. So what's the altitude of the airplane? It's going to be 31.2 yards. Maybe about. Okay. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. Yes, it's a very low flying airplane, right? So 31 yards, that's really not much, right? If you think about it on a football field, it's not very far. But so the airplane is pretty low.
Shouldn't even be flying.
Why? They could fly 2 feet above the ground. What's wrong with that?
It's gonna hit
Yeah, it's probably going to hit the top of the boat, right? Yeah, most likely. So, yeah. Just don't let certain people fly airplanes, and yeah, we won't have that problem. All right, example 2. So label on your thing, example 2. A lighthouse operator sights a sailboat at an angle of depression of 12 degrees. So depression means it's what? Top down. Very good. So it's going to be down right here. If the sailboat is 80 meters away, how tall is the lighthouse? Now, this is where it comes into play about knowing about my alternate interior angles. So if I were to draw my triangle, I'm going to draw the triangle I'm going to use. It's going to be right here. That's my right triangle, isn't it? Okay, so where else can this 12 go? Alternate interior, right? So can it be down here also? Okay, so if it's an angle of depression, it's also the same thing as the angle of elevation. So because these are alternate interior, I'm going to put a 12 right here. And this is going to help me out. Because angle of depression is the same as angle of elevation. Now I have my right triangle, don't I? That's the whole thing I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a right triangle so I could actually do my math. So if 12 is my reference angle, this side over here is the opposite, right? Class?
Yes.
Okay. There's the opposite. This side over here is hypotenuse. And down here is? Very good. Okay. How tall is the lighthouse? So what goes there? X. So it's going to go right here on my lighthouse, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to put an X right there. So what am I working with here now? Opposite and adjacent, so that's going to be? Tangent. Very good. So I'm going to do that one here now. So let's see. Trying to make sure I could actually have both on the screen. There we go. So I'm going to have tangent. So it's tangent of my reference angle, which is 12 degrees, is equal to opposite over adjacent. My opposite is X. My adjacent is 80. There we go. So now that I have that set up, now I can do my math, right? So from right here, I always have to multiply by the bottom over here, right? So this is where my variable's at, so I should always multiply by the bottom, right? So I'm going to multiply top and bottom, or both sides, left and right, by 80. Very good. So those cancel. So I get 80 times tangent of 12 degrees is equal to my X. Now from here I do what? Plug it in, right? So that person that borrowed that pencil should be using said pencil right now, right?
I am using said pencil.
So let's see, 80 times tangent 12. There we go. Ooh. There we go. Hit enter. And if I'm rounding this to the 10th, that's going to give me what? 17.0. 0 is still a number. You're still going to show that one decimal point there. If you're rounding to the 10th and it's still 0, it's still 0. So X is going to be about 17.0. This says I rounded because there was other numbers, right? There was other numbers on here, so I am showing that I'm rounding. And I rounded to the 0, so that means it's there. So it's not going to be exactly. So it's going to be 17.0. What are my units on this? Meters. Very good. So the lighthouse is about 17 meters tall. Anyone have questions, concerns, complaints? Is this pretty easy? Okay, so let's take a look at page 40 real quick. Okay, the first two, pretty straightforward, right? Okay, it has diagrams there for you. Number 3. 3 is an interesting one. What's wrong with 3? You have to draw a picture, don't you? Okay. All right, and number 4 is a special one. Okay, because you have to try and solve for the difference in the height. So 4, you're actually looking for this value here. This value right there is going to be your x. And so once you find x right here, how would you find the height of the other building?
Anything below that would be.
So if you know what x is going to be the difference in height, right? What would you do to actually find the other height?
Subtract that.
Very good. So it would be 207 minus x is going to give you this height. Okay? And there's also some problems on the back side. So we're going to use the rest of the time to work on your practice right now since you need the calculators. Okay, don't forget, like and subscribe, right?